What are you doing? Mom? Mommy? Mom. 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 Mom!
It's a very haunting episode, and I know it's one that's very close to Joss since he experienced a similar thing in his own life.
The body, I was trying to do something very specific, and that was capture the almost boring nature of grief, the vacuum that you find yourself in when you first lose someone.
Paramedics should be there in a moment. You might have cracked a rib. It's not important.
She's cold.
The body is cold.
No, my mom. Should I make her warm?
It was just amazing to me how he captured in the script, you know, when Buffy discovers my body and the camera's just sort of moving and she's not really hearing and taking it in because you go into shock. It's not something you can process. I mean, mortality is just not part of your vocabulary when you're that age. You know, real mortality.
In the Buffy world, we almost never see natural death. People are killed, people don't just die. And that made it all the more horrible because there's no meaning to it. You can't say this happened because this guy was angry or because this guy was evil, because it just happened. And that meant there was no coming back from it. And it meant that it's something that Buffy is not equipped to deal with any more than a normal person. There's no special Slayer skills for this.
Everybody wants to help. I don't even know if I'm here.
Joss is a master of some of these shots, and I could not take my eyes off it. I watched it a number of times, and it's every worst feeling everybody has at knowing somebody that died. It's the horrible pain and loss and ripping out of your life of someone leaving. And at the same time, Buffy trying to cope, trying to take care of her sister. It was gripping and disturbing at the same time.
Virtually each act was told in real time. It was told without music because Joss's feeling, and rightly so, is that music is a comfort for the audience. If you want them to feel sad, you play sad music. And he didn't want to comfort the audience. He wanted to make it as uncomfortable and as disturbing as the experience would be if you were to find a loved one at home who had died.
I have to make a call.
Well, Giles is inevitably Buffy's father figure and the only authority figure she trusts. So she would, of course, call him first. And I think even if Angel had been in the picture, or Riley, in a situation like this, she would call Daddy. I lost my own mother, and a lot of this came from me. A lot of it came from people I know because everybody's lost somebody. Everybody has different stories. Everybody has different... But they're all part of the same thing, which is that early on, that inability to reason, that sort of figuring out this thing has happened as opposed to some cathartic outpouring of grief, which is not what I wanted to capture because I think we've seen that, you know, or this great lesson learned because, you know, what I wanted to capture was really just those first few hours.
I have to talk to you.
Can't wait, I'm in the middle of class.
I know.
Doing each act as one segment, one scene. This is another way, like the lack of music, to not let the audience out, not give them a breather. A cut to a new scene, like a music cue, lets you just let everything out and start afresh, and I never wanted to do that. I wanted everything to be very contained, because that is also the experience when you lose someone. When I say the boredom of grief, it's like you go through every second.
We got her. My God, we got her.
Let's get her on the truck now. Call it in ahead.
Oh, I'm here.
It's a miracle. That's what it is, a beautiful miracle.
Good as new.
Oh, Buffy, thank God you found me in time.
The dream sequence, that to me is completely like a documentary. That's what it is. It's what goes through your head. Like, what if I had? What if this wasn't happening? What if I had made it better? And then what happens in a situation like that is you get so wrapped up in it, you have to come back to the reality of the grief. You tell yourself a story and all of a sudden you have to remember that it's not true. So those sort of little moments of unreality are, in a way, the most real.
Something that Joss and I had talked about a lot, and the other writers had talked about, which was that unlike a lot of death on Buffy, that this one was going to be very real. We wanted to play the kind of cold, stark reality of someone who's gone and not coming back.
I didn't want it to be a formal exercise. You know, I had done Hush, and in a way that was a formal exercise. I'd done Restless, which also was. But both of them I thought were integral to the show. And with The Body, I didn't come at it going, what can I do now that'll be wacky and impress everybody? I really just, the more I thought about capturing it, the more I realized, oh, these are the things I have to do. I have to create little, almost plays. And the use of sound became very important in that, obviously, because there was no music, and also because I wanted to create heightened sense. For example, when Buffy goes outside and hears the neighbors, and everything is normal outside. You know, everybody's life is going on. Every noise, the cracking of her mother's rib, everything is just more. And visually the same thing. You know, I would spend a long time looking at things because it's that thing of everything I look at makes it more real, and that dreamlike state, particularly in that first act where when she throws up and all of those things, like very, very sort of just focused on both in sound and in picture.
I think we're just about ready for pie.
And then I'll be pretty much ready for barf.
Xander! Gross.
No, barf from the eating, because all was good and too much goodness.
I'm taking it as a compliment.
Yes, everything was delicious.
Yes.
The reason there's a scene at the beginning where they have dinner with Joyce is very simple: opening credits. I had to have them. I couldn't possibly have them going while Buffy is doing that 2.5-minute take of finding her mother and calling and all that stuff. So I knew I had to do something to accommodate those credits, which is just a practical consideration. But what it led to was, oh, this will be great because it will give us a chance to show happier times, casual, not some scene where Mother imparts the most important wisdom she ever gave, just a completely unimportant scene that I actually shot all wrong. I realized afterwards that I have all that stuff going on at the dinner table that I should have had Mom in the background. She should have been coming and going and picking things up so that she was more of a presence in there as well.
And a lot of people felt that, you know, we got feedback from the board and from fans that they thought that when Dawn touched Joyce at the end of The Body, that she was going to reanimate her somehow, that maybe Dawn had some kind of magical power. And even though Dawn tries to bring Joyce back, the whole point was it's forever, it's a done deal.
Dawn's basic reaction is a meltdown, a nervous breakdown. She is just completely beyond words upset and almost, you know, not willing to accept it. And that is definitely a maturing experience in her life.
And there was this tone on the set that was just palpable of tension and strangeness and uncomfortableness, you know, for everybody. And I knew it had to do with me being a dead body, you know, so I sort of would try to, you know, make it okay for everybody. But it was really hard.
Joyce was aware of the possibility of a rupture and the effects. She didn't even get on the phone, so clearly this was very sudden.
My head.
Mom.
It's doubtful that this could have been dealt with in time.
There was like 2 or 3 days where, in the morgue makeup, just getting into that makeup and wearing it all day, and then going into the morgue and laying down on a cold metal table, you know, with sheets over other bodies. I mean, you know, believe me, for somebody who's afraid of, you know, horror movies, it was like, oh, God. It was hard.
It's not her. She's gone. Where'd she go?
That's probably the best question about death that I can think of. Nobody has the answer to that question. Some people believe one thing, some people believe another. Nobody knows what happens when you die. Nobody knows where'd you go.